killing after killing.
They're taking down the crime scene.
Victim.
Why my baby?
After victim.
She trusted anybody. Everybody was her best friend.
It would prove to be the deadliest year in Anchorage's history.
People were getting murdered and people were afraid.
Some murders linked by a common thread.
I've heard that there might be a serial killer.
I guess he could have been hearing voices. Like, what were the voices telling him?
How do you grieve about that, you know? It's like, I just want to go to his dead body and still strangle him.
Is there evidence that they're related to a serial killer?
And a surprising connection.
I never thought that it would be a person that I knew and grew up with.
This was his home. That's him, walking down the street. Do you see how his hand is like his tucked in his coat? I think he had the gun in his hand.
We don't want to broadcast that is the linkage and give the offender the advantage of changing weapons, changing pistols.
I saw him with that bike, riding that bike, and he just smiled at me.
And not one, but 3 eyewitnesses to a cold-blooded execution.
She saw the first part of the gunfire from back in the other room.
I saw the guy fall to the ground and then took the bike and just biked off.
Off into the night, blending in. A killer among us.
One thing I like about Alaska is that there's really nice people out here.
Ask anyone in Anchorage why they love living here.
Hiking, go fishing. It's nice weather.
There are many trails to choose from.
A lot of good places you could take kids to go play.
I appreciate the unity.
It's safe here.
People like to say the city of Anchorage is just a short drive from the real Alaska. A land of mammoth glaciers, crashing tides, and world-class hunting. But there's plenty of wildlife here along the city streets. The great outdoors can still be found among the office towers, concrete, and corner stores. And for many, it's the reason they choose to live in Alaska's largest city, population 300,000. But what happens when the city's parks and trails turn deadly?
Are we actually safe? It doesn't feel safe.
I use these trails. I'm a member of the community as well, and like everyone else, I want to have answers. You have to believe that we are doing our best to solve it.
If you say don't go out, then we've failed as a society. We've given up our public space.
Like so many Alaska stories, the mystery began in winter, or so it seemed. An icy January morning.
Anchorage police received a call at about 8:30.
A popular trail overlooking the salt water of Cook Inlet.
They had found a body at Point Warrenzoff.
While investigating, police were shocked to find a second victim, a young man left to die in the cold. The victims? 19-year-old mother, Selena Mulinax, and a charming but dangerous young man who was supposed to be at home on house arrest. Oni Aber Morissette, with no witnesses.
We just need closure. Some type of closure.
And little to connect the victims. 7:40 a.m. on July 3rd. A cyclist spots 2 bodies lying on a trail near the outskirts of downtown.
We had gotten a tip from someone who was camping and said that they were walking their dogs. They had heard what they believed to be 6 shots.
The dead included Brianna Foisey, a sometimes homeless 20-year-old with a learning disability.
But when it came to music, she could remember anything.
Who loved to sing.
I was cooking for 4th of July, and I was getting ready to go to a friend's 4th of July barbecue, and the trooper showed up. The trooper said, "We need to come in. Can we sit down?" So I thought something's really wrong.
And then, just 3 weeks later, at 3 a.m. on July 29th, another outdoor murder. 21-year-old Travion Kendall Thompson is gunned down on a lonely street bordering the woods.
He was house sitting for my sister.
And then just 1 month later, on August 29th,
They are opening up the area
2 more bodies found outdoors, this time in the middle of a beloved public park in the heart of Anchorage, named Valley of the Moon. 34-year-old Kevin Turner had recently become homeless.
Mr. Turner was sitting in the pavilion area and was attacked. He was shot. I think he was just sitting there working on his, with his socks and shoes and stuff, and he was probably minding his own business, and he was shot one time.
Kevin's brother, Billy Ray Turner.
We're so devastated that somebody had taken his life.
Fears boiled over at a neighborhood meeting with police at the very same park where 2 bodies had recently been discovered.
People were getting murdered and people were afraid.
Are we actually safe? It doesn't feel safe.
We really feel for you, and we're here tonight for you.
If you say don't go out, then we've failed as a society. We've given up our public space.
It's tough out there. It really is, and you got to look out for yourself, and we got to look out for each other.
I have heard that there might be a serial killer.
The worst thing we can do is speculate.
4:30 a.m., November 12, downtown Anchorage. 2 months after the double homicide at Valley of the Moon Park, a 911 call to police.
A report of a cab defraud. In other words, somebody took a cab ride, didn't pay for the cab, and split and left the area.
A 38-year-old patrol officer, Arn Solau, checked it out. Driving downtown, he spotted a man in the early morning darkness.
Walking down the sidewalk that was in the area, kind of in the general area of where our suspect would be, commanded him to stop.
Sir, Anchorage Police, can I get you to stop?
But the man kept walking.
Officer Solau eventually turned on his overhead lights, and I think the suspect probably thought he was cornered at that point.
11:30, does it want to stop? I'll try to come off here at Hope Depot. This is the Anchorage Police. You need to stop. This is the Anchorage Police. You need to stop.
And I realized he wasn't going to be allowed to leave, and that's when the shooting started taking place.
Bullets whizzing around.
And police dashboard cameras caught it all.
What we see is Mr. Ritchie approaching Salau's car, firing a gun at him. Salau literally flies out of his car. I don't know a better word to describe it. Flies out of his car, returning fire.
I heard the gunshots, 6 or 8 gunshots, and that's when the police officer was emptying his chamber. I got to the window, and I just saw the police officer running after the guy, but he was already on the ground.
Officer Solau was shot 4 times.
The bullets traveled and went up into the middle of his body, fracturing bones, ripping apart muscle.
But police say he never stopped fighting.
He immediately returned gunfire and physically fought off his assailant.
Then 2 more cop cars popped in, blazing with their lights on.
Another officer, Sergeant Mark Patsky, joined the gunfight.
He was able to charge forward and return fire as well.
The suspect was killed. The officer rushed to the hospital to undergo life-saving surgery. Police have not released surveillance video of the gun battle that night, calling it disturbing.
It's very horrific. It's shocking.
And when the gunfire ended, a revelation equally as shocking, one that would help put an end to the city's summer of fear.
I could tell immediately that he was a very tall individual. I saw the Colt Python had been retrieved.
The man now lying dead on a downtown Anchorage street matched the description of the shooter who killed Trey Thompson. He even wore the same camouflage jacket. Ballistics would seal the case. Anchorage could now sleep a bit easier. The man accused of shooting and killing 5 people at local parks, trails, and empty streets was now dead. But who was James Dale Ritchie? How did the life of this once star athlete go so wrong? Police say his motive died with him, leaving only memories and hints behind.
This is where I first met him. This is what he looked like.
Relics of a dream derailed. State championships, good friends, respect. But there were also stories of violence.
You know, these kids pit their pit bulls together for fights and stuff, or